Welcome back to another episode of the Doug Las Vegas Bets UFC betting show. This week we're in for a treat as the UFC has headed to the White House to put on a card on the South Lawn. I don't really care for the politics or all of it, but what I do know is it's a short card with just 7 fights, but there are 7 fantastic matchups. Plenty of name value. Every one of the fights except Nickal versus Daukaus has someone who's headlined a pay-per-view. All of them except Chandler, at least someone who's headlined 2 pay-per-views. So there is plenty of name value on this card, and not just the name value, these matchups are fantastic, exciting. Plenty of fights that are expected to end inside the distance with some highlights, some good competitive matchups, historic fights like Pereira getting a shot to become the first triple champ in the promotion's history, and topped off by, in my humble opinion, the greatest mixed martial artist we've ever seen in Ilia Topuria defending his title. I am super excited for this card. I've got a big slate put together for you guys. I have a bet for every single fight on this card to give out. So without further ado, let's get into it. First up, I'm going to go over this main event, and I already said it. I think Ilia Topuria is the greatest of all time. I've been on the Topuria train forever. Those of you who've been following me know I put my foot down. I put it all on the table and max bet Topuria in the Volkanovski matchup. I laid the chalk against Max Holloway. I didn't get there on minus 500 against Charles Oliveira, but obviously I've always been a huge supporter of Topuria, and he takes on the always exciting Justin Gaethje here, always hovering around title fights. He's always fought the best of the best in the UFC for a reason. He's always put on a show, always made things interesting and competitive. Starting off by breaking down Topuria here, his skill set is unbelievable. I think he's the greatest boxer that we've ever seen in the cage. His ground game does not get talked about very much because he doesn't use it very much. But when you see glimpses of it, it's very high level. I mean, we saw the takedown against Max Holloway, which obviously with the Charles fight, it doesn't look as impressive. But nobody at 45 was able to pick Max up and take him down like that and then knocked him out on the feet. Was able to put Charles Oliveira in the crucifix and avoid any danger there. Wasn't much to see there, but just the fact that he had a little bit of a success against Charles, let alone not getting dominated like so many people do, like Chandler did, like Max Holloway did, as I just said. I think we know that Topuria is a very high-level grappler. Also got the submission after hurting Bryce Mitchell. We just saw Bryce Mitchell use his grappling to get a tap out over Santiago Luna, a talented young prospect last week. So this is a very well-rounded guy. On the feet, very much boxing focused, doesn't really use kicks to the body or head ever. In the UFC, we haven't seen him throw any. So, you know, the weapons are a little limited, but he uses it well. He fires those combinations with insane determination and timing. The timing of his combinations when he sets things up, he knows exactly where he wants you. He knows exactly what he wants to throw when you are in different positions. Just such a high IQ, high-level striker. It's such a rare specimen to see in the octagon all across the board, and obviously coming in on the run that has proven that skill set is real. Knocked out one of the greatest of all time in Alexander Volkanovski, came the first to knock out Max Holloway, and then moved up, claimed a second belt by knocking out one of the most dangerous finishers of all time and a great champion at lightweight in Charles Oliveira. It's been talked about as the greatest 3-fight run in MMA history for good reason, and I think this is another Hall of Famer to add to it as we shift over to Justin Gaethje. He's won his last 2 fights, comes in good form outside of that Max Holloway loss at UFC 300 where got face planted right at the buzzer. But, you know, the book's been out on Justin Gaethje for a while. It's just hard to deal with for so many guys. He creates chaos. I love the quote. I don't know exactly who said it. Let me know in the comments if you know who said it, but they said Justin Gaethje is the kind of guy to light himself on fire just to burn you a little bit. I think that's the perfect analogy. His game is predicated on taking damage and being able to give more damage, going all the way back to the UFC debut against Michael Johnson where he got rocked all over the place, gave more damage and got the win. Had a couple setbacks against Poirier and Alvarez, kind of adopted a bit of a more patient and controlled style so that he could hang with the best in the world. You can't just be the wrecking ball against the best in the world. So he did evolve a little bit, went on a nice first round knockout streak, and peaked with his interim title win over Tony Ferguson, where he put on a 5-round masterpiece against the, at the time, streaking Tony. Since then, lost that title fight to Khabib, earned another title shot against Charles Oliveira, lost that, and he's always just hung around the top guys. Taking out the young and up-and-coming prospects with the 2 wins over Fiziev, the win over Paddy Pimblett, and he did get revenge on Dustin Poirier to claim the BMF title fight. But yeah, nothing really new about Justin Gaethje. We saw him shoot 1 takedown in the Fiziev fight across his career. Didn't go back to it, unsurprisingly. I think he's definitely slowed down a little bit. I think the Pimblett fight showed that there is definitely still something left in the tank. I was really concerned after the Holloway fight that it was going to get ugly, but the Fiziev and the Pimblett fight showed that he's still got the skills. He's still going to use that veteran skill set and that ability to create damage to beat the younger up-and-comers who just don't have the experience to deal with a guy like him. Now, that being said, Topuria is not normal. I mean, Gaethje's style being predicated on taking damage, even if he's gotten more technical over the years, he still has to take damage in a lot of his fights. It's how he operates. He is at his best when he is controlling chaos, but there's still chaos. You can't do that against Topuria. You just can't take damage against him. I mean, it sounds silly. You can't take damage against a guy in a fight, but he is so powerful. I mean, you look... The only way that maybe someone could have beat him is if Alexander Volkanovski fought a perfect 5 rounds. He beat him over that round without really getting touched. And still, that was Ilia setting up the finish, just being patient, having respect for Volkanovski and knowing what his path was. So I don't see how Gaethje gets it done here with his style of fighting. And then he's gone on this crusade in his late career about how all the champions go forwards. And he's been hilariously open, saying he wants to go forward in this fight, just completely divulging his game plan. And I believe him. I mean, I don't think it's mind games. And I don't think he's smart enough to play a mind game in that aspect, if I'm being honest. But it's funny hearing him say he's got to go forward. He's so determined to go forward. And then you hear Charles Oliveira be like, yeah, I shouldn't have played around in that range. I should have stayed out at kicking range and circled more. So it's just funny, the mindset of someone who's going to fight Topuria versus the mindset of someone who just fought Topuria. Now, obviously, they're different fighters. They have to approach it in different ways. But at the same time, why can't Charles hang in boxing range, but Justin can? We saw Justin couldn't hang in boxing range with Charles. I mean, MMA math doesn't always work, obviously. But to some degree, it does. I mean, there's levels. And I think these two are on completely different levels. So I think this one ends quickly. I don't think Justin Gaethje gets through a few exchanges on the feet. And Topuria, I've talked about the grappling a little bit. We did see him shoot the takedown on Max. If he shoots a takedown like this, I think there's a decent chance he just submits Gaethje after the first takedown. Gets him down if Gaethje gives up the back. Topuria's a high-level grappler. I mean, he's not going to pass up the opportunity if he does end up on top. I do think he's going to choose to make it a striking match, and even if he does have shooting a takedown in his mind, it might not get that far. I really think he's going to touch Gaethje early and often, and it's going to end ugly. So with that, I took Topuria and under 1.5 at plus 110, same game parlay on Bet365. I put 2 units down on that. And a second play for that fight, Topuria inside the distance, is also going to be the last leg on my 3-leg parlay that I give out every week. Make sure to follow me on social media so you see that. So yeah, I've got Topuria winning this one early, however he wants. I'll say first round knockout because I do think it's more likely that he stands, and like I said, it might not even get to the ground, even if that's his plan. But I'll leave it open to inside the distance or under 1.5 on my larger play there, just because I do think the submission's a very live outcome. And I mean, if he looks at Gaethje's past fights, the clear path is there. Topuria's a smart enough fighter that it definitely wouldn't shock me if he comes out to grapple in this one. So yeah, Topuria under 1.5, Topuria inside the distance, Topuria all day, however he wants. Next, we'll go to the co-main event as the heavyweight interim title is on the line. Well, Tom Aspinall recovers from the eye injury caused by the poke that Ciryl Gane hit him with in their last title fight. So now Alex Pereira steps in up from light heavyweight to take on Ciryl Gane, who gets the title shot off the eye poke, to see who's going to fight Aspinall when he's healthy here. We'll start with Pereira as he comes up as the light heavyweight champ. As mentioned, he reclaimed the belt in his last fight, getting the first round knockout win over Magomed Ankalaev. Revenge for the first fight where Ankalaev outclassed him to a decision win. Before that, he had had a successful light heavyweight title reign, defending the belt multiple times in win over Jamal Hill, rematch over Yuri Prochazka, and a stylistic gift over Khalil Roundtree, to be a little generous. Also had the middleweight title, of course, his initial run up to getting that rivalry with Israel Adesanya reignited, got the 5th round knockout win, spectacular fashion at MSG in their first fight, got knocked out cold in Miami in their second fight in brutal fashion. Been a wild ride for Alex Pereira. It hasn't really been a short run anymore, but man, the guy has made an impact on UFC history with his run from the start. Obviously, the credentialed kickboxer from Glory, former champion, had the matchups with Israel Adesanya, as I mentioned out there. Made his way into MMA and immediately went on that rocket ship to the top, getting knockout after knockout from the debut flying knee against Mihailidis to the left hook against Sean Strickland, the 5th round against Adesanya, a string of early ones at light heavyweight against Yuri Prochazka twice, Jamal Hill, as I mentioned, showing he can dig deep, survive, and put on the damage late against Khalil Roundtree, and just walking through Ankalaev. The guy is deadly. He's got that nasty signature left hook, devastating calf kick that really leaves an impact on guys. If you let him land a few, it'll change your movement for the whole fight. One-shot power like we hadn't really seen at those weights, and freakish size was his thing at the lower weights, although not so much up here at heavyweight now. He might even be he is the smaller guy in this matchup against Ciryl Gane. We talked about Ciryl Gane. He's coming off that fight with Tom Aspinall, he poked him in the eye. That was his 3rd undisputed title fight. Was 0-2 before that with losses to Ngannou and Jones. But he kept getting back there. He keeps handling these contenders, showing that with his athleticism and skill set, he's going to be one of the top guys. Obviously, had the controversial second decision against Alexander Volkov. Beat him comfortably the first time, as wins over guys like Sergey Spivak. The Tai Tuivasa win. Going back, even main event wins over guys like Jairzinho Rosenstrike and Derrick Lewis to claim the interim title way back when. So this guy's been showing high-level striking for a very long time. Definitely a questionable ground game, specifically wrestling, not so much submission-wise, but Francis Ngannou did out-wrestle him, and John Jones, kind of showed the submission can be an issue too, as he stuck him in a guillotine in under 2 minutes. Even at that stage in Jones' career, I thought that was a really bad look for Gane. But he did bounce back nicely with wins over Spivak. Long layoffs between a couple of his fights. And he was looking good early in that Aspinall fight, although he often starts strong. He's very hard to win minutes against. When I look at Gane, going back to that hard to win minutes against, in my notes I just have he's elite at hit, don't get hit. Look at the striking metrics. Lands more than Pereira, gets hit less than Pereira, lands at a 69% rate. The guy on the feet is absolutely a technical master. The guy is so fast, so clean, so hard to touch. The only time we really seen him touch was that Tai Tuivasa moment where he got dropped and recovered well. And you can point to that and say, oh, getting dropped by Tai Tuivasa is a really bad look. Well, I would have thought that might have come around against Derrick Lewis and Francis Ngannou if it was going to be a more frequent issue, but it didn't. So with that, I am taking Ciryl Gane here. I think he's just the better minute winner. His defense is so good that I think Alex Pereira in order to get him, it's going to be very hard to one-shot a guy, especially now that he's up at the bigger weight class. A guy as durable as Gane. It's going to be hard to even land that one shot, let alone finish it with that one shot. So I think Pereira's going to need to build up damage in the early rounds to either get a late stoppage or start winning the later rounds. And I just have a hard time seeing him do that. I think Gane's too clean defensively. I think Gane's going to have the speed advantage, especially with Pereira adding the weight. I think Gane was probably faster when Pereira was a middleweight. Now Pereira's got all this extra weight on. I think Gane is going to be way faster. The size advantage not being there for Pereira is such a huge thing. It really is going to come down to me if Gane can avoid the calf kicks early to make sure he can keep his movement going and he doesn't tire out in the later rounds. He also has the grappling upside. I haven't even mentioned that because, I mean, grappling doesn't really come to mind when you think of this fight. I think of it as a weakness for both guys. But Ciryl Gane definitely does have the option to use it offensively here. Alex Pereira just doesn't have offensive grappling. I mean, he came into the sport from kickboxing. His grappling is defensive. We saw him land the one against Israel Adesanya, but then Adesanya turned it around on him and out-grappled him for a round of that fight. Obviously, Adesanya not a grappler either. So it wouldn't shock me to see Gane mix in a takedown, get some top time here, especially with his striking threat. It could come as a bit of a surprise if Pereira settles into a striking match. So I think Gane's going to win a decision overall. A stoppage wouldn't shock me, so I took the money line. But Gane not the most powerful guy, and as much as we've seen Pereira rocked, he's had some big weight cuts that he's not dealing with anymore, and he's shown really strong recoverability, being able to come back from getting rocked at the end of round 1 against Adesanya to win that fight and surviving all 5 after getting rocked bad against Ankalaev in round 3 of that one. So give me Ciryl Gane here. Give me him by decision. I know he's a slight dog, so it's kind of cheaping out, but I am going to make him the underdog best bet of the week at minus 105. Minus 105 to minus 115 is still an underdog, so I'm letting myself do it. Nobody can stop me anyways. Ciryl Gane, underdog best bet of the week. And new interim heavyweight champion. Next, my lone fellow Canadian on the card, Aiemann Zahabi, takes on Sugar Sean O'Malley. In a high-stakes bantamweight one, this could determine the next title challenger after Petr Yan and Merab Dvalishvili finish their trilogy. Of course, we have Corey Sandhagen and Mario Bautista coming up as well, and Umar Nurmagomedov versus David Martinez. Winners in those ones are also going to have a say depending on how Merab versus Yan goes. I tend to think that if O'Malley wins here and Yan wins, then they're going to do the rematch there just because of the storyline. They clearly like giving O'Malley headliners, title shots. So we'll see. It's a big spot for O'Malley. I have to believe that he's sitting there thinking he's going to get a title shot if he wins. And with Aiemann Zahabi's streak and the opportunity he has against a star former champ like O'Malley on this card, he's also got to feel like a title shot's in his future if he wins. So let's start with the former champ himself in Sugar Sean O'Malley. He's coming off that close win against Song Yadong where he really locked in that third round and entered the flow state, started going off back in January. Before that, back-to-back loss to Merab Dvalishvili after his quick title run. The Sugar era was really good to us. I miss his title fights. We kept cashing on those. We had him versus Aljamain at plus 200 or plus 225, something like that. Then we had him versus Cheeto by decision at just plus 105. Then we got Merab against him the first time. So the Sugar era was very good to us with him as a champion. Obviously, I have been wrong with him a bit lately. I took Song Yadong earlier this year. Decent dog odds. Don't really regret that bet. It was a very close fight. The first 2 rounds you could argue. The second round did go to Yadong. Came down to the first round, but Sean obviously came out looking better. That third round was the clearest and the best of either fighter by far throughout the entire fight. Showed really there that he is still an elite striker when he enters the zone, when he gets that range going. He's got a wide array of weapons, the straights, the clean boxing, and those nasty knees that he can land up the middle. Showed that against Cheeto Vera too, obviously landed the one that sounded like a shotgun, and had the nice knockout against Aljo with that straight right too, and had the very competitive decision that he ended up winning against current champion, Petr Yan. Still getting used to that somehow, even though it's been 6 months now. But yeah, So Sean O'Malley's elite of the elite size for the division at 5'11", long reach, knows how to use it. His grappling is not the greatest, but as far as strikers in this division go, he's cream of the crop. On the other side, Aiemann Zahabi, he's come in on a long win streak, and he's really put it together. Especially these last 4 fights, he's been facing really strong competition, and he's been able to keep fights close and get the decision every time. He knows how to fight guys close, despite not being the most explosive, athletic, or powerful guy. Sounds like I'm insulting him there, but I'm not. I swear I'm complimenting him because he works his way around that using just technique, volume, the grit. He knows how to get things done. He's a really smart, tough, and gritty fighter, and it showed. He found a way to get it done in a slower fight against Javid Basharat. Knew what he had to do to get it done against the young prospect who was a big favorite. They gave him Pedro Munoz, who's always been a tough gatekeeper, always been tricky for guys to get past. Even O'Malley and Marlon Vera, Cheeto lost rounds to him. So, always tricky, and he managed to get that one done. Survived the onslaught from Jose Aldo and was able to get his hand raised. No matter what you think of the decision, the fact that he was able to survive and turn that back around with that hilarious moment of Aldo almost finishing him and then looking and squinting at the clock like, no way, there's that much time left. Still an all-time hilarious moment. And then obviously against Cheeto, Vera survived getting dropped in the second round and didn't let Cheeto get momentum, regained the momentum, and ended up getting the third round, winning the decision to keep his win streak going. So it's been really impressive. That being said, I really did try to talk myself into a Zahabi bet just because he's the fellow Canadian of the card. I do think there's a chance that it gets to the low volume kickboxing match. It's like a 29-28 split decision. But then I've always thought, if you're trying to talk yourself into an underdog and you're visualizing their path to victory as making it a questionable split decision, you're probably not looking at the best underdog. Like, I don't think he has much of a chance to knock O'Malley out. And then you look, Sean's bigger, faster, younger, he's fought better competition, more powerful. Like, I have a hard time seeing an advantage for Zahabi in this fight. So the big number makes a lot of sense to me. It is tough to see O'Malley finishing him. Zahabi's crafty and durable, but he is 38 years old now, and he got dropped by Cheeto, got hurt bad by Jose Aldo. It's been a while since O'Malley got a knockout, but I definitely think it's possible here. Overall, the bet that I have on this fight is pretty simple. It's just Sean O'Malley is one of the pieces in my 3-leg parlay of the week. So that's leg number 2. If you're keeping track, we got Ilia Topuria inside the distance and now Sean O'Malley. If you're asking me for a pick, let's have some fun. I'll say he gets going late in the third round again and gets another knockout. Gets the knockout this time. He didn't get it against Song Yadong. But Zahabi not quite as durable as Yadong, a little older. So I will say Sean O'Malley gets going late again and gets a third round knockout victory here on the White House lawn. Here we go to the heavyweights as Josh Hokit does a quick turnaround after President Trump's specific request to get Derrick Lewis on this card on the night he fought Curtis Blades not too long ago in Miami. We'll start here with the young upcoming Hokit. He's just 28, the wrestler, the former NFL practice squad guy, put on some weight. This guy keeps a high pace. He's well-rounded. I've been really impressed with him since he came into the UFC. I had some questions after the Contender Series performance. Was kind of just held on to Gabriel Uriel until he gassed out. In hindsight, a high IQ performance, knowing Uriel had gas tank issues. Hokit could drag it later with his wrestling, so did it. It worked. And then obviously he came into the UFC and showed that, he can use that high pace and he can use his hands for real. He's not just a wrestler. He doesn't need to hold on to guys for dear life. Showed off his hands against jiu-jitsu player Jimenez, I don't fucking know how to say it. Knocked him out in the first minute of his debut, and then went back to that wrestling, put it all together, mixed it up, and just showed his ability to set a pace against Denzel Freeman, making him quit at the end of round 1, the TKO via middle finger. And then he took a huge step up in competition, showed his pace and his boxing really work up at the next level against former title challenger Curtis Blades, or interim title challenger, same thing. Got the decision over 3 rounds, was able to weather a bit of a storm, showed some toughness, face some adversity in the octagon. I always talk about how it's good to face adversity and survive. And he did that. He showed he can overcome the tough moments, keep putting the pressure on, can keep that pace up. Showed that he's not going to settle if he gets taken down himself. I thought that was a really good performance at just 28 years old. Showed, through the gimmick, this guy is a real well-rounded fighter that's going to be really hard for a lot of these less athletic heavyweights to deal with. Now, Derrick Lewis, he's a sneaky athletic heavyweight, but at 41 years old, Derrick Lewis is fun. We've always known him as one of the most dangerous knockout artists of all time, the knockout king himself. Explosive strikes like that flying knee against Marcos Rogerio de Lima. Dangerous throughout the fight, even if you're taking a clear lead on points. It caught Curtis Blaydes with that uppercut when Curtis Blaydes was starting to run away in the boxing. Less than 20 seconds away from the win, Alexander Volkov, he caught him with the straight right and got him out of there, back on the McGregor-Khabib card. So this guy's been around forever. He's been doing it for a long time. Been pretty inconsistent at times. The wrestling has looked bad. At times the cardio's looked bad. The outputs looked bad. But always had the wild card of that power. Now he's coming off a really rough one against Waldo Cortez Acosta where just kind of got embarrassed and got sat down with a jab. He looks well past his prime at this point. Had been on a pretty good run before that, winning 3 of 4 with that flying knee against Rogerio de Lima, a win over Rodrigo Nascimento, who's now in the PFL in a main event, and then another main event win against Taliesin Teixeira, which, it didn't age great, we will say, but got the job done. So, obviously he still has the power in his hands, but I think as far as Derrick Lewis beating any top level guys, it's very likely over. And with that, I'm very confident in Josh Hokit here. I think he should be a very big favorite. I think obviously Derrick Lewis has the wild card, and Josh Hokit took a lot of damage not too long ago. But unless Hokit fights like a complete idiot, which I don't think he will. People might think he's dumb or just wants to put on a show because of his gimmick. They might think, oh, well, he's going to stand there and flip Derrick Lewis off. But you look, like I said, the Contender Series fight, this guy knows how to put on a high IQ performance, how to drag someone until it's not that dangerous. He might eventually stand there and flip off Derrick Lewis and do all that, but I'm pretty sure he's going to shoot a couple takedowns first and really tire him out. When you look at Derrick Lewis's past performance, the Sergey Spivak fight really, I think, could be a repeat of that. This is Derrick even more past it, and Hokit has a way better gas tank than Sergey Spivak. So I think if Hokit just keeps shooting, letting him try to get up, or he could just stay on top, ground and pound him out, or a couple times Derrick Lewis gets up, the danger in the power goes down significantly. Obviously, like I said, he's dangerous throughout the fight. But I think that threat does go down significantly after a couple takedowns if you really get him tired, and Hokit will really start to style on him. And I do not think Derrick Lewis can keep up that pace for 3 rounds. So I really think Hokit gets a finish in this one. I took Hokit by KO TKO as the prop play of the week at plus 105. Put 2 units on that. I'm also considering adding him to a couple parlays just on the money line, just in case he does go for the submission. Derrick Lewis, typically a weird guy to submit. Even look at Jailton Almeida, a great submission artist, couldn't submit him over 5 rounds on short notice. So I do think Hokit's clear path to victory is the KO TKO. I think that's the way this fight goes the majority of the time, so I'm happy to take plus money on that. So yeah, give me Josh Hokit by TKO. I think he gets it done in the first round. Honestly, I don't think Derrick Lewis can even last 5 minutes. So yeah, give me Josh Hokit by first round TKO. Just the TKO KO at plus 105 is the prop play of the week. This is a must-see matchup at lightweight as we have Maurício Ruffy taking on America's great Michael Chandler. He'll see you at the top. Always been a big fan of Michael Chandler. I remember back, I used to do a prediction show with a lad called the MMA Bet Surgeon on here, and we had Michael Chandler do something for the intro after Chandler cashed a big bet. Dan Hooker in his debut for the Surgeon. Shout out to Pat if you're listening by chance. I haven't heard from you for a while, so I doubt it. But yeah, always a big Chandler fan. He takes on Ruffy, the exciting striker here. We'll start with Ruffy. He's won 4 of his 5 in the UFC. Came in real hot, won those first 3. Got the knockout of the year with the spinning heel kick over King Green. Showed the cardio in that James Longtop performance where he beat him up over 3 rounds style on Malarkey in the debut. But everything hit a screeching halt when he took on Benoit Saint-Denis in France. We cashed on Saint-Denis as the underdog, best bet of the week there. I did have some serious questions about the ground game and just how Ruffy would handle pressure. But he bounced back really well against Rafael Fiziev. I had Fiziev by decision in that one, and Fiziev was looking good winning the minutes, but the moments were definitely going to Ruffy, and he set it up and was able to get Fiziev out of there with a big right hand power shot and closed the show nicely. Was able to smell the blood in the water. I mean, obviously he was clearly hurt, but jumped on it and closed well. He didn't play with his food at all. Didn't go for position or mess around going for a submission. He did damage on the ground and got the job done. So obviously sharp, powerful knockout striker. I still have some questions about his grappling. Well, I still have big questions about his grappling and how he handles pressure. But I do think he's going to be a difficult guy for anyone in the division to strike with. Michael Chandler on the other side. This guy is 40 years old. He spent a long time chasing that Conor McGregor fight infamously. Got a title shot in his second fight after knocking Dan Hooker out. And it's been a pretty big struggle since then. Lost that one to Charles Oliveira. Bounced back with the big front kick over Tony Ferguson to get himself into the conversation. After, of course, his fight of the year with Justin Gaethje. And then since then, he's lost 3 straight with very sputtering activity. He got submitted late by Dustin Poirier in a wild fight that he had a lot of success in early. Lost the decision to Charles Oliveira where he was controlled on the ground for a lot of that fight and resorted to kind of just cheating to get the finish at the end. And it wasn't enough. Charles was able to survive and hold on to get that decision. And then most recently fought Paddy Pimblett in his most concerning performance where landed one nice right hand but fell apart pretty quickly. The gas tank just wasn't there. Got dominated on the ground by Pimblett. Just looked far out of his athletic prime. Just definitely didn't take the damage like he used to be able to take it. Didn't keep the pace like he used to be able to keep it. So yeah, I mean, if you're asking me for a prediction what I think is going to happen most of the time in this fight, it's Ruffy by knockout. But that's not what I'm betting. I'm not going to try and give you guys any sort of technical analysis on this. I'm just going to say, give me stupid prices and I will make stupid bets. Chandler plus 550 is a stupid price. This guy is still a really explosive wrestler with a huge right hand. Ruffy is not that proven. I definitely think it's possible. I took a very small shot. It's 0.2 units on Chandler plus 550, but I had to do it. I mean, come on. We got to have some fun in this game. It can't all be about the numbers and what exactly is going to happen. You give me a big number like Chandler plus 550, and I'm more than happy to take a little shot on that. You know, I win over a unit if he wins. I don't lose much at all if he loses. And, I mean, as much as I'm joking around like, oh, he's probably going to get knocked out, it's possible. The guy has big power. He's very experienced, very credentialed wrestler. We saw BSD got Ruffy down pretty easily. So swing one big right hand, get Ruffy thinking about that, blast a double, and you never know how far we can go with that. So give me Chandler plus 550. My prediction, Chandler first round TKO. Matchup of middleweights here looking to push their way into the rankings as Bo Nickal takes on Kyle Daukaus. We'll start with Bo Nickal here. Came into the UFC as one of the biggest prospects in the history of MMA. Very credentialed college wrestler. Had just a few fights on the regional scene, finished them all very quickly, showed some good power in his striking, not much technique, but they quickly transitioned him to the UFC. He was able to get the job done in his first 4 fights, taking quick steps up in competition, facing off against a guy in Paul Craig who he's been there, done that. I mean, facing Paul Craig in your 4th UFC fight, just your what was it, his 6th or 7th pro MMA fight. That, I mean, it wasn't a great look for him. He got the win, but, not convincingly destroying Paul Craig in a striking match isn't a great look. But, I mean, he handled a step up in competition, got the win, and then took too big a step up against Reinier de Ridder. Really easy to criticize that performance. Just couldn't handle the physicality in my eyes. The physicality and the experience, the well-roundedness of a guy like Reinier de Ridder was too much for someone as inexperienced as Bo Nickal, and it really showed. He just overwhelmed him physically, and maybe showed that Bo Nickal isn't great at overcoming adversity. I've always talked about overcoming adversity in fights, and I think it's something that we still need to see Bo Nickal do, and that was a good example of why I like to see guys overcome it at an earlier stage. Maybe if Paul Craig or Cody Brundage had rocked him and he had to brace for that, or if they had more success, had won an early round against him, he would have felt the need to adapt more, or he would just know the feeling of being down in a fight and needing to come back. The first time he experienced that was against a world-class guy who was, damn near got himself a title shot in Reinier de Ridder, and it was too much for him. Good bounce back against Rodolfo Vieira. Vieira, a bit more of a limited striker than we've seen. He's been inconsistent. He had the good boxing showing against Tresean Gore. Then kind of blew the early lead, almost got the finish against McConaughey, and got boxed up badly late in that fight. So tough to gauge that one, but the striking looked good there and eventually landed the nice head kick finish. Showed that he has good finishing instincts on the feet. I mean, you can say, oh, it's just a head kick, it's a fluke or whatever. But when guys land stuff like that, it just tells me that, they know how to land these big fight-ending shots. The shots that he landed on Val Woodburn tell me he knows how to do that. He's not, insanely pillow-fisted just because he went to decision with Paul Craig. There's definitely some threat to this guy striking, and it's still evolving. He's very young in his career as a striker, and the confidence is going to grow when you do things like land a head kick like that. I mean, you look at the head kicks he's throwing earlier in just his UFC run or in his regional run, it doesn't look like that. So I do think he's still evolving as a striker. He's still adapting his game to MMA. With the wrestling hasn't looked great. The grappling hasn't really looked as outstanding as, in theory it should, with him having these high-level grappling matches outside of the UFC before he competed in MMA. You'd think it would translate with him being a great grappler, but it's almost been the striking that's more been the story, because it's been what we've seen more of. He didn't grapple against Paul Craig. He didn't grapple with Rodolfo Vieira. These were two jiu-jitsu guys. And that raises the question, well, what's he going to do here against Kyle Daukaus, who's also very skilled jiu-jitsu player, but dangerous on the feet as well. We saw him get a knockout in his return fight to the UFC, had the first run that ended with a couple knockout losses, but got 2 wins in under 2 minutes to start this next run, hurting and finishing Michel Pereira with that left hook and nice elbows on the ground, showing pretty good striker. Then hurt Gerald Meerschaert and went to work on the ground, got that Darce, showing he's also a very good grappler. This guy is a dangerous finisher, well-rounded finishing skills, good cardio too. He'll drag guys into deep waters. He showed that in a couple 5-rounders. I think it was the CFFC champ when he was out of the UFC after the end of his first run. But I do want to touch on the end of that first run, because the concerns definitely are still there. When you take a big knee knockout loss like that to Roman Dolidze, and I think it was some kind of forehead facial reconstruction surgery that he had, and then he got knocked out by Eric Anders, and he was hurt on the regional scene too. So we've seen him come back and get these quick knockouts. We haven't really seen him deal with anyone hitting him yet. I still have some serious concerns about how he's going to handle someone hitting him. So with that, I did have a bit of a tough time reading this fight. I said I had a bet for every fight, and I'm going to give you 2 kind of bets for this fight, but I have nothing official locked in, so I kind of lied, but I am going to, in all likelihood, have a bet here. First, I think fight doesn't go the distance is going to be the last leg in my 3-leg parlay. That would be Ilia Topuria inside the distance, Sean O'Malley, and then this fight doesn't go the distance. That would come out to around plus 140. That's tentatively what I'm looking at for the 3-leg parlay of the week. And then the second one that I think I'm going to play in isolation is the fight to end by TKO KO at plus 135. The fight not to go the distance is over minus 200, but the more I think about it, the more I think submission is a relatively unlikely outcome. Both of these guys are pretty strong on the ground. I think a lot of the fight's going to play out on the feet, and both of them are strong defensive grapplers. I mean, Kyle Daukaus has a very strong Darce choke, but we've talked about the wrestling credential of Bo Nickal. We've talked about him doing these grappling matches outside of the UFC. And then Bo Nickal hasn't shown this, elite submission threat. He got the submissions against Jamie Pickett and Cody Brundage, but that's Jamie Pickett and Cody Brundage. He hasn't even wanted to engage in the grappling with good grapplers like Paul Craig and Rodolfo Vieira. So I think he'll want to strike, and he's shown good power with 2 knockout wins in the UFC. Now taking on a guy in Daukaus who I said I have serious durability questions about. So if you're giving me plus money on the fight to end by knockout when the fight to not go the distance is minus 200, and I think a sub is very unlikely, I think I'm going to end up at least putting a unit down on that fight to end by KO TKO. Make sure you follow me on socials at Doug Las Vegas Bets on Twitter and Instagram to keep an eye if I do lock that play in, and for when I officially lock in the 3-leg parlay of the week. For my official pick for this fight, I'm going to go with Bo Nickal by TKO. I favor him from a durability perspective, but I think he is the better grappler. I don't think we see much grappling. I just think it's going to be striking, and I think he hurts Daukaus. I think he's still getting a lot better, whereas I think we've kind of seen this is what Daukaus is. He's a dangerous kill or be killed, grinded out finisher who will beat the lower level guys, but I have higher hopes for Nickal than that, so I'm going to take Nickal to get the knockout. I'll say he gets it in the second round. And the first fight on the card here, the last fight I'm going to talk about, Diego Lopes takes on Steve Garcia in a featherweight banger. We'll start with the 2-time title challenger, Diego Lopes. He comes in here off his second loss to Alexander Volkanovski, but, I mean, this guy is still the same fighter he was. Unfortunately, we haven't really seen the improvement that a lot of people would have hoped for after the first title loss. It looked basically the same, if not worse. But if you look at the rest of his UFC run, I mean, that's still a real dangerous fighter. Going all the way back to his debut, went for nasty submissions against a really high-level guy in Movsar Evloev, and then went on that hot streak, getting a submission over Gavin Tucker, the knockouts over Sabatini, Sadiq Youssef. And then he improved. He did improve in terms of cardio or pacing, at least. The Dan Ige fight was weird timing-wise, but he shouldn't have been the one who gassed out late in the third round. Still, like I said, he improved on that, was able to go 3 rounds comfortably with Brian Ortega's next fight, and 5 rounds with Alexander Volkanovski twice. The John Silva fight was a really impressive performance, showed off his offensive grappling in that one in terms of doing damage more than just finding the submission. Couldn't find the sub from Mount on John Silva, but still effectively did damage that worked big time in his favor. I mean, that spinning elbow did the trick, but all the damage beforehand definitely helped. So I thought that was a pretty good performance. Still showed that lack of head movement that he's become infamous for, but he continues to get away with it because he has a granite chin. So this guy has a great chin, very high level on the ground, which makes him difficult to submit and always a threat to submit you, even if he can be controlled at times. Very powerful finisher on the feet. If he catches you, it just takes one shot to hurt you. At least have big moments like he did against Brian Ortega. This guy is very, very difficult to beat. On the other side, Steve Garcia comes in on a nice hot streak, having won the last 5 all in impressive fashion with wins over guys like Melchizedek Acosta, Calvin Kattar, and most recently David Onama. Very powerful boxing, aggressive style. Like, you're gonna get a good fight. Even if it went to decision against Calvin Kattar, he was chasing him down, hunting the whole time. It wasn't like the Yusuf Zalal decision against Kattar where got the lead and went for the movement. Steve Garcia was putting it on him there. So this guy's all action, exciting. Improved on the ground, I feel, over his career. I thought the Melquizael Costa fight was a really good look there, even if he had done a lot of damage to Costa and he was kind of tired there. Just looked very comfortable on top, going from position to position, finding the damage. So I think that was just a good sign that, he looked competent on the ground. Not being a fish out of water there is sometimes really all you need if you can drag a guy into a brawl like Garcia has a tendency to do and Lopes can be caught doing. The question has been about his durability. His chin has been a big concern with guys like Charlie Ontiveros hurting him. Who was it? Not Arichi Lang. Mahashate hurt him and knocked him out. Although like I said, with the hot streak he's been on, it hasn't been hurt in a long time, so his defense has gotten better, or he's learned how to take a shot. I think his defense has definitely gotten better. His striking numbers are very good. He's very fast in his prime. At 34, he seems to be a guy who's peaking now. Some guys don't always peak at like the 28, 29 physical prime that you'd expect. It looks like the experience has really just come into play and everything's started to click now for Steve Garcia, which has helped him go on this run. As far as picking this fight, I get why Lopes is favored because he has the more high-level experience, the bigger names on his resume, and I give him a big durability and grappling advantage. That being said, I do think Steve Garcia has a pretty big striking advantage, and I think in terms of technique, volume, I think he'll be landing more harder shots. So that complicates things, when you're looking at a guy who's so much more durable than the other guy, but another guy who has more technique. It makes it hard to disagree with the durable guy being more favored. But I went a different way with this. I took Steve Garcia by decision at plus 525 here. I think it's very possible that he puts it on Lopes in a striking match over 3 rounds, has the bigger moments, but can't get Lopes out of there because of his chin. I mean, we saw he couldn't get Calvin Kattar, a very durable guy, out of there over 3 rounds. And even if Lopes tends to brawl, he's very tough to get out of there. If he gets a knockdown, Steve Garcia is going to have a tough time going down to the ground and finishing him. It's going to be dangerous playing with him down there. So I definitely think a decision is a very live path to victory for Garcia. I think it's his main path to victory, honestly. I think if Garcia wins, it's by decision more often than it's by knockout. I had a hard time disagreeing with the money line, so I didn't play it. I just played Garcia by decision plus 525 for half a unit. I'll make that my prediction because I have a hard time guessing what's going to happen between a Lopes knockout or a Garcia decision. I just like the number better on Garcia decision. So give me that as my pick. All right, well, thank you guys so much for tuning into this one. This was a really fun one to break down. These cards are special when you get this much talent stacked on, so I really enjoyed making this. Please show some support if you enjoyed, if you feel like you learned something. Leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe, go follow my socials, all that good stuff. I seriously appreciate it. I put a lot of time into this, so it means a lot. Quick recap of my bets here. Going from the top of the card to the bottom, we have Topuria in under 1.5. We got Ciryl Gane money line. We got Josh Hokit by TKO. We got Michael Chandler. We got Steve Garcia by decision. And the tentative ones are a 3-leg parlay of Ilia Topuria inside the distance, Sean O'Malley, and Bo Nickal versus Kyle Daukaus not to go the distance, and also Kyle Daukaus versus Bo Nickal to end by KO TKO plus 135. I, again, really hope you enjoyed this breakdown. I hope you guys are as excited for these fights as I am. That's all I got for today. So Sunday this week, I hope you guys enjoy the spectacle of a fight card that this is going to be, and I will see you guys next time.